Hi, everybody. This is Tom Grisak. I'm here with someone that a lot of you probably seen his signs, and some of you may know. But if you don't, you're going to be really interested in hear what he has to say. I'm with Tony Prutch. Tony is the probably, well, without question, the most prolific builder in Fairview and Lucas over the past probably 2 years, I'd say. And Tony's going to share with us some of his future plans, what he's doing, how he got started. And I just want you to get a chance to get to know him a little bit better. Tony, thank you for visiting with us.
Tom, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
First, I want to say when I first met Tony was maybe a couple of years ago, and he had just started out. He had some big plans, and I was really impressed with the way he was attacking this, becoming a dominant player in this market. I think the first time that I met Tony, it was just after I don't know if 2 or 3 years ago, the big tornado came through Wiley.
Yeah.
And why don't you share with the people what you did in that event? That's what really impressed me a lot.
Yeah, December 2015, December 25th, I believe. The tornado came through in one of the subdivisions that my wife and I had lived at. We recently moved out of, wiped out the whole entire subdivision. And my wife and I had seen it actually coming across the lake. And so we went over there, tried to help people, literally pulling people out of the rubbish, that kind of stuff. And really just had a calling to where I had an opportunity to help somebody without any thought to it. And so we helped those people. We actually helped them clean up for quite a few days, and then actually even let people stay with us while we even started to rebuild their house.
That's what amazed me. How many families did you have staying with you?
There were 3 people that were staying with us at any given time.
Yeah. I bet that got a little tight, didn't it?
Well, it's really interesting. It really brings you back home when you see somebody stepping over $100 bill in a literal sense to pick up a picture of their children's first grade school picture. And it just really humbles you and brings you back to where you're supposed to be, and that was really a good start for us.
Right. Well, that sure humbled me. I thought, what a great person to do that, and you're helping people out of a bad situation. Did any of those families, did they lose any lives in those?
No, nobody died. Yeah, nobody died, and as a matter of fact, I think in the worst case scenario, I think somebody was kind of hit on the head with an attic ladder as the tornado was coming through, and that was the worst of all of it.
Yeah.
And in one case, there was a family that was actually having a after Christmas party. There was over 20 people in the house, and nobody was injured.
Wow, amazing. Well, that is about the time you got started on your own, didn't it? It was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
God,
yeah.
time is just flying. Well, you don't probably know Tony by name, but I know you've seen his signs. It seems like you can't go anywhere without seeing one of his developments or homes going up under construction. So tell us about J. Anthony, how you got the name, and
I'll start off with a little bit of a funny story. So when I was starting all of the logos and things like that, the JA was real important to me to be able to light it up at night. And so I tried a bunch of different ways, battery powered, LEDs and all these different things. And I was sitting out in Berry Farms and looking at the subdivision, and my headlights were shining on the stop sign. And I'm like, well, that was easy. I made a phone call the next morning. All of the A and the J surrounded with the silver is all reflective. It's basically stop sign material, so that when you drive through any of my subdivisions, the JA is going to light up.
I never noticed that. I guess I don't drive through at night.
Yeah, and so it's just, every single sign as you drive down the street, you see the JA all lit up. It's really pretty neat.
And you got the names from your kids.
Well, 2 things. The name of the company is actually Homes by J. Anthony, and there's a lot of meaning behind that. The JA stands for Johnny Anthony. He was my father. He passed away when I was 19 years old of acute leukemia. And then my son's name is Jordan Anthony. That's where the J. Anthony comes from. My name is John Anthony as well, but the way I kind of look at it is I'm never going to do anything that my father would be disappointed in, or anything that my son's going to have to answer for. So that's where the J. Anthony comes from.
Right. Jason was mentioning the tapping. They'll pick up on the.
Oh,
Oh,
gotcha.
and also you were crinkling this.
Oh,
Yeah.
And that was
Okay.
really loud.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We'll cut that part out.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, when we first met, I was asking you who does your plans, and you had mentioned that you start out on a napkin, and I couldn't believe that. But I heard it from other people. Said he'll start out doing his plans on a napkin, and then he'll put it on CAD, and I guess to this day, although you're not working off napkins, this is how Tony starts out with one of his homes.
Yeah.
Tell us the secret. Tell us what happens when someone comes in and they sit down with you to design a home.
Absolutely. So my belief is if you're going to be custom, number one, you need to be able to start with a blank piece of paper and create the idea and the dream that they're trying to achieve. Starts with the very first things first, being to listen to what they want. Once you listen to what they're trying to make the house and the flow of it, then it's real easy to sit down, sketch out a few things, and to give them a concept while they're there with you. What's really neat about that is that I'm not having to translate from homeowner to me, from me to an architect, from an architect to a draftsman, back to the architect, back to the customer.
Right.
Literally, I can listen to what they're trying to achieve, put it on a piece of paper while they're there, and if they want to make modifications like you showed on that piece of paper, there's a bunch of whiteout on that. I can make those changes, understand what they're trying to do, and never have to tell them no.
So it's all about speed, too.
It's about speed, it's about accuracy, and it's also about trying to protect the customer from themselves.
Right.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to build a house where the garage is on the third floor.
Right.
But if they want to group the rooms together, or they want a formal dining room, a lot of people today are getting away from formal dining rooms.
Right.
But to be able to achieve that flow, and then once we get it concepted out, entering it into the computer, adding furniture to it, and then continuing on to our next steps, which is the 3D, where we can walk through the house before we've ever built it, really gives the customer a good feeling of what their dream was.
And your son, I believe he's responsible for that area of the business, isn't he?
Jordan Anthony's been a great asset for us. Taking a program that's as sophisticated as the ones that we're using took a lot of learning, and took months of him studying and designing and doing it wrong, learning the mistake.
Sure.
Just like anything that we do.
Right.
And but now he's turning plans in a day.
Wow, it's amazing.
So,
And so you can get it used to be the rule of thumb on a custom home was maybe a year and a half, 2-3 months to get it completed. But you're saying that you're getting these homes up and completed in how long on average?
So I'm going to answer that in two ways. Number one is from the time I meet the customer to the time that they move in is going to be 8 to 10 months.
Yeah.
Now that's banking, that's engineering, that's permitting, that's
Right.
design, that's all a bunch of collaged items that come through that. During the summer, obviously, we're a little faster than that. But during the winter times, especially today when it's rains like it is, it hits right closer to that 8 to 10 months.
Okay. So the speed of which you can do the renderings, that's one of the things. You'd also mention your subs have been with you for a long time. Any builder's only as good as their subs.
Well, you're
Tell us about
absolutely
that.
correct in that. I'm going to back up just a little bit
Okay.
as well. So when I meet the customer, let's say it's on a Saturday, and I've sat down, I've listened to what they're trying to achieve, I can take that information, do the sketch, send them home with that. Within 48 hours, I can give them a complete floor plan, pricing, lot fit, elevations, everything. So that process would normally take 30, 60
Right.
days in a normal scenario. Let's say that I've already done the concepts and they want to make revisions. Well, within a week, I've already accomplished that, modified the pricing, and they're going home being able to make decisions based off of the logical side instead of the emotional side.
Right.
And that speed of being able to do that really helps them feel
It's just
better about
wasted downtime is what you're eliminating.
I'm
And you're
eliminating.
cutting out one person one person can slow the whole transaction down. If you're waiting a day or two to get stuff back, that just keeps adding on and on and on.
That's right. And they are a priority, and they maintain a priority where if you're going to job that out to somebody else, they might have 3 or 4 other priorities
Right.
that they're working on, and you're
Right.
just next in the line.
How many homes do you have under construction? Well, let's go under construction now, and how many do you have on the books?
Yeah, so today we have 29 homes under construction. We have 16 homes that are under pre-construction agreement, which is where we're working on designs and that kind of thing, about to start. At any given month, we're going to close 3 to 5 houses
Okay.
any month.
And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about your past history too, and what you did with the, was it Grand, or that you were with, or?
Well, I started when I started building homes. It was the very first home I did. I hadn't even graduated from high school yet, so I built my mom and my dad's house while I was still in school. Obviously, with a lot of mentorship from my mom, who is actually a superintendent, still builds with us today. But by the time I was 23 years old, I'd already sold my first company. From there, I went to Grand Homes, where I was the only person in the history of Grand Homes to start and warranty and make it all the way up to a division president.
And you were the top salesman the whole time you were there, weren't you, from the first month?
So at Grand, I was the top salesperson. I won the McSam's Award. I'd sold 14 homes in the first month and a half.
Wow, that's amazing.
I did well enough at it that they promoted me a month and a half later to sales manager. From sales manager, the goal was how do you get other people to achieve that same goal, and was successful doing that. So my very first subdivision was Lantana, Texas, and I'll never forget. They give me the subdivision, and they give me the promotion, and they send me out to Lantana, and there was nothing but just a big open field of 1,718 acres.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, what's first?
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, so-
where do you start?
Yeah, exactly. So, so when I left Grand, I was building a home for the director of operations for Movie Tavern, and Movie Tavern at the time was a small startup company, but they needed a general contractor to come in. And while they learned, I learned as well. But we became the largest movie theater general contractor in the United States. Easily, we built over 30 some odd movie theaters in a short 3 to 4 years.
Wow, it's a lot of time on the road, I would imagine, for you
Well,
then. That's got to wear you out.
That was the reason that we sold that company, is because, well, being completely honest with you, I got an email from my daughter, who at the time was really, really young. How she even learned how to email is beyond me, but she said, "Hey, Dad, I'd like to get on your schedule to spend some time with you." And I realized real quickly that.
Your priorities were maybe a little misplaced.
Yeah, you're sitting there, you're working for your family, you're trying to achieve all the goals and give them all the things they want, only to realize that your daughter, all she wants is to go get ice cream
Right.
or go to the park or whatever that may be. And,
Right.
So I took that very personal, and so left building movie theaters, and we finished our last one, which was in Corsicana, and from there I shut it down, took a little bit of a time off, and spent time with the family until they were ready for me to go back to work,
Yeah.
which was, I guess, about 3 months later.
Yeah. A couple of things I find just fascinating about your business. First of all, you don't have a sales manager. People come to you. I mean, it's not like you have to hire someone to go drum up business. It's all word of mouth, I would imagine.
We have in the past done a lot of marketing and stuff like that, but to me, it's a very personal commitment, both from the customer and myself. And so for me to remove myself from that is impossible. I need to know what they're wanting to achieve. I need to be able to achieve that goal. We have a huge team here. I mean, we have 14 employees that have their jobs and their tasks and all that, and they all work together as a very, very strong group. But the personalization of it, I think, is important for me to hold on to. It's also the reason that I want to become huge. For me to not have that one-on-one
Right.
connectivity with customer, I think would lose everything that we're trying to achieve.
Right. You've got a lot of really neat design ideas in your homes. Some things I haven't seen before. I think, well, that's a great idea. I wonder why no one ever thought of that. Where do you get those ideas from?
Well, a lot of studying, and then in addition to that, taking a lot of the commercial applications that I learned in the movie theater business and crossing those over into a residential. A great example of that would be the door that you see downstairs. Most of the time when you see a sliding door, it's either a biparting door or something like that. But to go to a 10-foot tall commercial glass window and the window wall itself around
Right.
the dining room. To go to those type applications, you really have to do a lot of engineering and studying ahead of
Right.
time. You'll also see, on my architect table right there, where I'm studying Roman architecture.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you're going to design, you have to understand where the design came from
Right.
and where it originated.
Right.
Truth is we're all redesigning the wheel. It's
Right.
still a wheel that
Right.
was designed
Right.
long ago.
Another thing that you're doing that I think the first time I ever saw another company do it was Toll Brothers, because I think they're based out of the north. They started adding basements.
Yeah.
So tell us about the basements. I think that's a real interesting concept. Southerners aren't really used to basements, but it's a great use of space, and there are other advantages. Tell us about that.
Well, first of all, I love the basements. I think that for years and years, people have said you can't build basements in Texas because you can't control the water. We have a very unique system where basically we're building, and I'm being very I don't know how to say it.
Cautious?
Casual. No, casual in my description here, but we're basically building a swimming pool in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Inside of that swimming pool, we build a room inside of that. It sits off of the ground about 2.5 feet. We have sump pumps in there. We have backups to our sump pumps. We have solar plugs that in case the electricity goes out. And then we basically build a house over the top of it. So we have many, many under construction today, and a few of them that I'd love for people to go out and see, because the engineering and the architecture behind what we're doing is
You've got a
everything.
patent on that, correct?
There's
that
a
system?
patent system, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, it has advantages as far as temperature control.
Absolutely, yeah. When you can get into some of the, controlling your air conditioning and stuff like that, you can typically maintain without a lot of work 65 to 68 degrees at any given time.
Is it a cost efficient? Is it like putting a media room over the garage? Is it cost efficient to have a basement, or what's it cost versus the?
I don't know that it's cost effective.
Okay.
But I think that if you look at what you achieve by a basement, game rooms, media rooms, secondary bedrooms,
Right.
tornado shelters.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up next.
For the additional storage, it could be a lot of different things.
Right.
So your cost to put a basement in is about $235 a square foot.
Okay.
Turnkey, finished out.
Okay.
Most of the customers that we're doing are doing about 800 to 1,000 square feet.
Okay.
Um,
Another thing, Tony, when we first met, you're the first builder that I've ever talked to that would give me a price on a per square foot basis of what, this was probably 3 or 4 years ago we talked. You told me what it cost, what you charge the customer, what it costs to build a home
Absolutely.
on a per square foot. And how can, because trying to get that out of a builder, it's difficult because there's so many different things that can go into a home.
Mm-hmm.
But you had a home and you said that's the home that I'll build for you. My cost on it was X dollars a foot.
Yeah.
How can you afford to do that?
Yeah, so it's really very simple, and I think a lot of the guys out there are doing it, and they're just not putting it into the system that I've been able to do, and that's basically all of my vendors, my materials, everything about the house is also negotiated on a price per square foot. So at any given time, I know what my true cost is.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to walk in asking me how much is this house, well, I can tell you as long as I know what the square footage is, I'm going to take that number based on building specifications. Doesn't mean we have to do them. 8-inch baseboards, thermador appliances,
Right.
beams in the ceiling,
Solid core doors, 8-foot solid core doors, right.
Absolutely, those are all standard features included in that base price.
Right.
And then we just take the square footage, we multiply it times $145 a square foot. That's your number.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want additional garage space, you're going to pay $65 a square foot for additional garage space.
Right.
You want additional patio space, then you're going to pay $55.
Right. See, that's easy for the consumer to understand.
Well, it also allows them to upgrade or to modify the things that they want.
Right.
Who am I to tell the customer what it should be?
Right.
What some people like thermal, some people like Sub-Zero.
Right. Right.
I'm going to start you with a basis, and then when you see the difference, we take whatever the cost of the item that's included minus the cost of the item that they want. We subtract the difference, and then we add a 30% margin onto the difference.
Okay.
That allows me to be extremely transparent.
Right.
Everybody knows that we're going to make money on the house. Let's just be open about how much we're making
Right.
on each individual item.
Right.
And that allows them to decide if they want it or don't want it.
Yeah, it's a trust factor too, I think.
And I mean, I will literally just show the customer, hey, here's the invoice. Here's what my cost is for
Right.
this. Difference
Right.
between the two.
Right.
Now they no longer have to go to one of my vendors or my showrooms or
Right.
something like that to pick up what they want. They have the entire global network to be able to say, hey, Tony, I just found this kitchen sink. It's an apron sink. It's
Right.
everything that I wanted. And it's $1,000. Great. Your standard sink is $500. Subtract the two, add your margin, and you're done.
Right. And so what's that number now for you to build a home? What,
That number is 145.
145.
Yes,
Because,
sir.
yeah, it was less back then, but that was 4 or 5
Yeah.
years ago, so
So-
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the only variable to that would be to take whatever my lot cost is,
Right.
and any variables that are
Right.
pertaining to that lot,
Right.
whether it needs piers or soil injection
Right.
or whatever.
Right. And you really are a custom home builder. You're not semi-custom, which as I mentioned, I thought, you start from scratch on every home that you build. You
Every
don't build
single
off
one.
plans.
I've never built the same house twice.
Yeah.
I've built lots of versions of
Right.
the same home, but I've never built the same house twice, nor
Right.
will I care to.
Right.
And I think if you can't add the personal touches of the buyer, then you might as well just be a production
Right.
builder and go out and build 100 of them.
Right.
That's not what I want to achieve.
One thing that really stuck with me too, you were talking about how your takedowns or your draws go right towards the home,
They do.
and then you take your profit at the end. Why
Yes,
don't you
sir.
explain that?
Yeah. So again, to be transparent in the whole equation, money gets involved in it. So we draw for the items that we have been invoiced for, and that's all we draw for. That helps the customer. Number two, the customer gets to control the money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be in control of it. I want them to be able to, if I haven't done my job, to be able to say, hey, Tony, you haven't done your job.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really gives them that secondary, especially with, some businesses out there don't have the
Right.
same setup
Right.
that we have. And
Right.
so it allows them to have control over the dollars, for us to build in a very timely manner to where they're not paying lots of money and interest and those kind of things.
Right.
And it makes it a win-win for everybody.
Right.
And that makes me really happy.
So after you've priced the home out, any add-ons after that point or change orders, they would pay you right up front for those. They go into the home. So
They
if we call it a bust out. If they decide not to close on the home, at least you're not out of the extras that you put into the home.
A little different here. So because we're doing a one-time close, the interim and the permanent loan are all in the same category. So they own the home on day one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, lots of advantages to that. Now they're only paying interest on the money as they borrow it. Give you an example on that. Let's say that you have a homeowner that's at $1.5 million, okay, and they want to use their money, their 20% down up front. Well, they can use that money to pay for the lot up front,
Mm-hmm.
and then be able to use the bank's money thereafter. Well, by doing that, your first month's interim interest might be a couple $100 instead of $1,200-$1,300 because they use their money first.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps them enormously. Again, being able to
Right.
control the bottom dollar at the end.
Right. Sounds to me like one of your problems is going to be having, with all this activity you've got, your biggest concern would be running out of lots.
Land is a difficult thing, and you have to be looking at land 2 years in advance
Mm-hmm.
for where you're trying to be, especially in the Lovejoy School District,
Right.
Fairview, Lucas. We're looking at opportunities today that might not deliver for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not easy to find.
Right.
Especially in this area where you're having to maybe be looking at a 6-acre lot here, trying to negotiate with their neighbors to sell, where you can get 10
Right.
lots and combine those together. So, with the help of some of the local developers, Steve DiNapoli and some of those guys, they're making it easier for us.
Mhm.
It's still a lot of legwork.
Right. We're actually out here in a development called Berry Farms. How many lots do you have out here?
There's 8 lots here. This entire subdivision is sold out today.
Okay. Wow. And how long did it take for you to sell it out?
Right at 1 year.
Okay.
These homes are ranging at around 1.5 million range.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the newest project you have coming online with Steve DiNapoli. As a matter of fact, it's called Harbour Oaks,
I love it.
and it's in Fairview. This is pretty amazing. There are 13 lots in that subdivision. We just broke ground, not we, Steve just broke ground a week ago, and already 8 of those lots are spoken for. And
Yes,
in fact, more than that. Share with me
Yeah,
what
so
you
we
said
have,
earlier.
like you said, he started cutting dirt about a week ago, and we have 8 homes that are already sold of the 13 lots, and it's a beautiful subdivision. It's in a great location, easy access to anything that you would want, and we're really excited about that.
Right. So there's still opportunities in there. This one's sold out, but there's still opportunities in there.
There is.
And those lots are going to sell, you said, up to 475?
That'd be our highest lot. There's 475. Most of them are ranging around 420 to 455.
And those lot sizes?
Those are all 1 acre. Biggest one's a little bigger than that.
Right. What do you project for the future of, I know Lovejoy kind of fuels this area. A lot of the growth is directly responsible because it's just got such a tremendous school district. But eventually everything slows down. What are you projecting for the next year or 2 years out?
Well, we're still feeling like it's going to be a great few years. We're opening up Carter Landing in Celina. I think that everything's kind of moving that way, and we're going to prepare for it today, again, knowing that it's coming soon. But 24 lots just opened in Carter Landing. We're starting 2 specs out there in the next couple of weeks, and moving a lot of our advertising to that area today.
Okay. Well, if you all have a chance, what is the address of Berry Farms?
1681 Jan Marie, Janmarie.
Okay. And we're sitting in a gorgeous, I think you said this, I'd ask you why you'd sold, this was your original show model, I would guess.
Well, we designed this as a speculative home
Right.
in order to resell, and 805 Bristol was our model home, and it happens to all of us. But a customer called up.
Really
wanted to
liked
buy
the home.
Yeah,
Right.
and so we ended up selling the 805. So we revamped very quickly, moved and furnished this home. It's 5,278 square feet, and it's $1,525,000.
Okay.
It is now since sold as well, and we're working on our next model.
And I think you'd also said the reason you wanted to build another home across the street here is so you can show what a basement.
Absolutely, and that's what I was going to expand on, is that this home doesn't have a lot of the things that we do. Our swimming pool company and our basements are neither one are really featured in this home. So we're going to start the one across the street that'll be able to showcase what we can do with a swimming pool and what we can do with a basement, and to be able to show people every day how both of those work.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it. I don't know when you sleep with the schedule that you run. I know you do have a lot of employees, but everything does start through you, and you do all the design plans. I've driven by here at 12, 1 in the morning, and I've seen your car here. When are you going to slow down?
I have no intentions of slowing down today. Again, I'm not trying to be the largest, but I am trying to be the best, and there's a lot of people out there that build great homes. So I'm going to continue to rely on my team and continue to work really, really hard.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see Lucas and Fairview, as long as you can keep getting lots, that's going to be your base, and then you'll have to move out from there when lots dry up. I guess no choice.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that we have a good year and a half to 2 years in the Lovejoy
Yeah,
area.
I do too.
I think that what will happen in Lovejoy is that, and we're already starting to see that, where people are buying existing homes, tearing them down, and then utilizing the land, which is really where the value is,
Right.
to build new homes on top of that. And I think that we can we can extend that year and a half to 2 years a little bit.
And how about remodels? Do you ever do those? Do you ever take those on?
When we started the company, remodels were a big part of our business plan. Today, we look at all remodels. We build garages, we do extensions, attic finish outs, kind of like what we're in today. But today, we're really focused on building new home construction. And so our rule is if you live in the house, we wouldn't be able to do the remodel.
Right.
If you don't live in the house, we will consider it strongly.
Okay.
But we just don't want to we don't want to get a lot.
Change your focus of what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't want to change my focus. I want to be amongst the best.
What's interesting is I've talked to a lot of builders in the past. A lot of them have gone into remodeling because the margins are higher.
Sure.
Takes longer on some projects. I think they don't know what they're getting into. They can miss it on, they go into behind a wall. They find something that they didn't know was there, and but it offsets the annoyances of constant change orders with customers that slow things down. They're waiting on cabinets, and you get the cabinets. They don't like the cabinets. You bring something else in, and that takes time. So in a lot of ways, you're atypical of a lot of builders in that you do build custom. You don't really build a lot of spec homes.
I don't.
And the spec homes you build, you may do one at a time or two at a time in a subdivision,
Mm-hmm.
but you're customer oriented rather than a builder that wants to get a home on the ground, showcase what they do, and then they're going to sell that, and then they're going to go to another one. That's a different concept too, and it takes a patience of Job, I think, to work with a lot of purchasers.
Yeah, it's a very time consuming. I was going to expand on that a little bit too. I see every single home every single day.
Mm-hmm.
The commitment to be able to do that, to walk and to be able to spend the time to look at the details, even though I've got a great team that's out there on a day-to-day basis looking at the quality and walking out the defects, to have a second set of eyes on it,
Right.
just to validate that what the customer's expectations
Right.
are. I kind of use this symbolism that I start off where I'm selling the house, but after the home is sold, I switch over to the other side of the table, and I represent the home buyer, similar to what you guys do, and so when I'm walking the home, I'm looking in the homeowner's eyes, not looking at it as what it is we're doing, are we using the right nails or whatever
Right.
it may be, but I'm looking at and trying to make sure that I've pushed what their expectations are through, and then to follow up and look at the actual individual details.
How many superintendents do you have?
We have 4 today,
Okay.
and that's the number I want to stay
Yeah.
with. Yeah.
So you think this 25 to 30 homes is a good number for you to be at one time, to be under construction or have on the books? You think that's a manageable number for you, and you see that as the future?
I think it is the future, and so we've got a couple things that we do here, and it's basically even flow production. Earlier on, you had asked me about our subcontractor base. Well, I can tell you that every single home that I've poured a slab on, every single frame, is the same subcontractor every single week. So we do a in by Thursday, out by the following Friday pay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to create to be able to say that and to be able to do it, number one, you got to have enough money to pay your bills.
Right.
Very often your draws don't come in before the bills are due.
Right.
You got to be able to take care of that. So I can say we've never missed paying a subcontractor,
Right.
and that's important.
Yeah.
But it also creates a loyalty.
Right.
So
They're going to give you preferential treatment because they know they're going to get paid, and they're going to take care of you first. When maybe a one-off, they'll have to put them,
that's
after
correct.
you.
The other thing that it's going to do is it's going to allow us to create an even flow on the production side of the home, which is that if every single week he has a new start coming, well, he already knows that he doesn't have to go look for more work.
Right.
So to maintain 30 units
Right.
or less is imperative that we be able to do that, so that we
Right.
can maintain our sub base, and we've done a very good job of creating a team not only in our infrastructure but creating a team outside of that with our subcontractors and our vendors, and I think that loyalty is going to carry us through where others might be successful.
The last thing I wanted to ask you, you do have a good pulse on what today's buyers are wanting. I think a lot of people would already say, if they've been out looking, the transitional, the wide open, clean lines,
Absolutely.
open floor plans. We're getting away from the darker cabinets, darker tones. What else? What's new? How about Mediterraneans?
Today, I'm still seeing that transitional style. Now, we are a little different here. If you come see our model, you'll see where we're more of a traditional exterior elevation with a little bit more of the transitional side and on the interior. You will start seeing us start to pull away from that a little bit where we're carrying that modern farmhouse style on the exterior,
Yes.
and then bringing it
Right.
on into the house as well. So I've got a few designs, which you got to see earlier,
Right.
that, where we're transitioning over to that. But I
Right.
think our main thing that I'm focused on, and you'll see this in the new model, is the new millennials.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this millennial are staying with their parents longer, and and so we've created some design concepts that are going to help that,
Right.
but also transition into the other thing that we have, which is a lot. Today we're taking care of a lot of the parents,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're now living with us and doing those kind of things. So I think my new design concepts, maintaining the traditional side, but also answering the problem of what do I do with my 25-year-old
Right.
son, or what do I do with my mother who
Right.
is now going to be staying with us.
Right.
To incorporate a design that allows that to go either way
Mm-hmm.
is something I think people are going to be really excited about.
I forgot to mention you also have a designer. That tell us about that.
We do. We have the ability. Number one, we have an interior decorator that comes in and will help you with all of your colors, things like that. We also have a interior designer that will actually come in, furnish your house, stage it, do any of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And to complete the whole package, even down to window treatments, drapes, pictures
Right.
on the wall, whatever it may be.
Right.
If we're completely focused on the house, then in order for us to complete that project, we want
Right.
to have the ability to be able
Right.
to complete the project.
How many of your clients would you say take advantage of your designer services?
We started this about 3 months ago, and we've done 6 homes since then.
Good.
So,
Good. Good.
in different aspects too. It's not just about doing the whole house. It might just be a study or a living room or something like that. But I think that ability to help that customer continue and complete their
Right.
vision on what they want it
Right.
to look like.
Again, it's about speed and it's about ease. People
Absolutely.
want to get in their homes. They don't want to wait a year and a half to get in their home. They want it plug and play ready. When they move in, they want to be able to enjoy it, and you're making it easy for them to do that.
Absolutely.
That goes a long way.
And again, to never be able to tell them no is, I think, the only way that you can be a true custom builder.
Right. And if they want to do special treatments like, say, solid foam the attic and the house, you can do that. If they
100%.
want to put it on piers, you can do that. It's
Quite often we do the soils testing, we do the piers, we do all of that. And what I feel my responsibility is to show them what each one of those is going to achieve for them.
Mm-hmm.
Is piers the right answer?
Right.
Or should it be soil remediation?
Or they're required. Some of these homes out here, they're basically sitting on rock.
That's
you,
correct.
You don't need piers.
Right. Go down
Others,
8 inches and
yeah.
you're hitting solid rock.
Right.
So, but I think to be able to be educated enough to be able to explain to them what that is piers the right answer? Is soil
Right.
remediation the right answer? Is it moisture
Right.
injection? Or is it none of those three?
Right.
And to show them that to where they make that decision based off of our recommendations is real important.
Right. Well, Tony, I want to really thank you for visiting with us. You've got a great story to tell. And as I said, a lot of people have probably seen, you can't go anywhere out here without seeing the J. Anthony signs. So I'm hoping this will give people a little bit more insight into how you've been so successful and how you've gotten, really what you've done in 4 years is just, it's incredible. And that all comes from being consistent. It comes from having a good reputation. It comes from word of mouth. This is a very small community here, and we have our ears to the ground. We always hear good things about you, and when someone has a problem with a builder, that gets around real quickly. And I know that you're the type of person that would take care of that and make sure that customer's happy.
Absolutely. Well, as long as you make decisions on what's right and wrong, and you don't base them off of a dollar figure,
Right.
your decision's always going to be the right one.
Right.
So,
Well, thank you so much for visiting with us.
thank you so much for having me. I really
Okay.
appreciate it.
All right. And hey, everybody, come by and take a look at this home. It'll knock your socks off. My wife and I really like this home here. The address one more time.
1680 Jan Marie in Lucas, Texas. I look forward to seeing you guys.
Yeah, that'll give you a good indication of the type of homes that he builds. Thank you all.